As many of you guys know by now, Resident Evil 4 went through many scrapped versions before development started on the final product, and with these scrapped betas, there were many scrapped concepts and assets that never made it into the final build of RE4. So in this video, I want to talk about 7 scrapped concepts I would like to see return in the RE4 remake. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the first thing I would like to see is something that many people don't actually know about, and that is the shelter system. Basically, in the beta builds of RE4, there was a mechanic where you could go up to an object, and Leon would perform a quick lunge where he crouches down to shoot enemies. When you got a few shots in, you would just let go of the aim button to go back behind cover. It's basically a mechanic where you shoot at enemies with less risk of getting hit with projectiles. Sort of something similar to what we saw in Resident Evil 5 and 6, where you could just hide behind the corner of a wall and fire at the enemy when the time was right. Now obviously the RE4 remake doesn't necessarily need these mechanics since many of the enemies you encounter wield melee weapons, but at the same time it could be pretty helpful in avoiding damage from enemies with crossbows, dynamite, and rocket launchers. Now the next thing I would like to see return would be a rejected Ganado design called the Super Dynamite Man. This enemy was going to appear at the castle stage and serve as a suicide bomber, and he would basically use the torch he is holding to light the dynamite on top of his head and then run after the player. Now this suicide bomber concept has been used in many games before, with the most recent one I can recall being the Callisto Protocol, where the enemy would crawl towards the player and explode when it got close enough. This concept always seemed to work really well, so hopefully we'll see it in the RE4 remake. Up next we have the Armored Ganado. Now this design was originally planned for the Garrador enemy, but I think it would be kinda cool if this was just a brand new enemy that would be a little bit more difficult to take down compared to traditional cultists, and would act as somewhat of a brute. In Resident Evil 8 there was this enemy called the Armored Lycan, which was basically a stronger Lycan that wore all of this armor, making it super difficult to take him out. I could see this Armored Ganado playing a similar role in the RE4 remake, just with the fitting knight attire and different weapons like a sword, for example. Obviously the original RE4 did have the Plaga Knights, but we really only got to fight them once and encountered them only a few more times, so I think it would make sense to swap them out for this new Armored Ganado enemy and have them appear more often. The next concept I would like to see return is the Harlequin type. In every castle there is typically a jester roaming about, but this was sadly missing in the original RE4. With that said, I think there needs to be one in the remake, and this scrap concept honestly looks like the perfect fit. For those of you who don't know, one of the scrap versions of RE4 actually became the first Devil May Cry, and in Devil May Cry 3, Dante stumbles upon a jester enemy that he has to fight a few times throughout the course of the game. Because of this, I think it would be really cool if they took direct inspiration from the Devil May Cry jester, like same clothing, same look, and then implement this jester as a mini-boss in the castle portion of the RE4 remake. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Now the next thing I would like to see return is the silencer. Obviously it was in Wesker's playable section for mercenaries, but it was actually supposed to be in the original game as well. Now in the gameplay reveals and in some interviews, it was revealed that there will be stealth mechanics in the game. I actually remember hearing that one of the playtesters asked about stealth, and it was said that the player can sneak up behind Ganados to perform stealth attacks. So with them adding these stealth mechanics in the game, I think it would make sense to add a silencer for the pistol and maybe even the TMP as well, just so we have multiple ways of sneakily taking out Ganados. The stealth mechanic honestly sounds like such a great addition to the RE4 remake, and giving us multiple ways to take out Ganados silently would just make it so much better. The next concept I would like to see is some of the scrapped Parasite Woman designs, just because of the fact that they look so terrifying, especially the B-type with a straight jacket and disfigured face. It's no secret now that Capcom wants to make the RE4 remake a lot scarier than the original, and I think adding in a few of these designs would be a perfect way to do just that. This next concept, called the Lurching Man, was actually the prototype design for the iconic Regenerator, and basically it had the ability to change its form. I'm honestly super surprised this enemy didn't make it into the original, because they could have made it one of the scariest enemies in the game. Like, what if it had the ability to morph itself to look exactly like Ada, Ashley, or even Luis? It could easily catch so many people off guard and make for quite the jump scare. So once again, since they're trying to make this remake super scary, I think adding the Lurching Man would be such an easy way to do just that. And there you have it, that was 7 scrapped concepts I would like to see return. I'd also like to see the Hookman return as well, but I didn't put it on the list because I've already talked about this enemy plenty of times in other videos. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.